Something that is common for all of us is change. It's inevitable for all of us. It's the same for all of us. Change is going to happen in our world. And here's the thing, change is always uncomfortable. We like to sit where we're comfortable, within that zone of comfort. But it's outside of that comfort zone where big things happen, where success happens, where growth happens. Just look at what happens when you are going to the gym or doing exercise. Unless it hurts, unless it's painful, know that you're not extending yourself. You're not growing and developing muscles. It has to hurt a little bit for you to have that growth. Now, I'm going to share with you some stories of people that have achieved success and the little things that they do to create change in their world that helps create that mindset. And I know for me personally, being an entrepreneur, being in business, I sometimes get scared to make decisions. There's a level of fear because something is unknown, and because it is unknown, it is uncomfortable. But there's a part of my brain that says, unless it hurts, you're not going to grow. Unless it feels uncomfortable, the growth isn't going to happen. I'll never forget being at a leadership conference years ago where I was watching somebody being recognised and applauded on stage for their incredible success. And this was a woman who had, I think she'd been something like a beautician. She had got an apprenticeship. She had left school. She didn't go to university, and she felt like she was dumb. But one of the things that she was forced to do as part of her leadership growth was to read for 15 minutes a day. Now, this is a person who had never read a book in their life. They had never completed a book, never read a book. They could read and they were comfortable with reading and read textbooks, but they'd never read a book. And they forced themselves to just read 15 minutes a day as a committed part of their growth. And it was a big contributor to their success because they were reading about business and entrepreneurship, and so they'd grown a really, really big business. Jeff Olson is a great author who wrote a book called The Slight Edge, and he talks about just the little things that you can do, the slightest edge, the smallest step that over a long period of time can have the greatest impact. And I remember him in his book talking about a woman that was had a shoe shine business, and she had all these books lined up, and they were all romance novels. And she was like this leader. She had the mindset of, I'm not a success, I'm never going to achieve anything. And Jeff Olson made the comment that if this woman had spent as much time investing in her own learning and her own growth as she did with all these romance novels, then maybe she could have been the success that she didn't feel that she could achieve. She felt all she was capable of doing was this shoe shine business. Another person that talks about success and habit and changing things up is Mark Burris. Mark Burris is the founder of Yellow Brick Road, and he was also, I first saw him when he was on the Australian production of The Apprentice. The American version is what made Donald Trump really, really famous. And I watch a lot of his content that he shares around entrepreneurship and success. And he has really simple, digestible tips. But one of the ones I found really interesting was how he makes a point of every day doing something different. And for him, it's doing things with his left and right hand. So, for example, to mix it up on a particular day, he might brush his teeth with his right hand instead of his left, or vice versa. And for him, what it does is forces him not to rest on comfort. It forces him to be in a state of discomfort, which means he's in a constant state of growth and learning. It allows his brain to be sharp and think about things in a different way and to approach things in a different way. I also had a conversation with somebody recently who's a very successful professional woman who has overcome great adversity in her life. She had a very, very difficult upbringing, difficult childhood, and she's achieved a great level of success for herself in her life. And she shared with me the fact that she was quite aware that there is a she believed, a genetic disposition for addiction within her family. She had parents and siblings who had all suffered in some way with addiction, and she hadn't. And one of the things that had been really important for her to survive her volatile childhood and to be the success that she is, the thing that was integral for her was breaking habit, because she recognized that habit is so closely associated with addiction. So for her to stay on her game and to be ahead and to have success, she had to break habit constantly. So that would be little things like changing the route that she would use to drive home, changing the order in which she did shopping within the supermarket. She was constantly thinking about what alternative outcomes could be in a situation, which stemmed from a volatile childhood where she had to have escape routes. But it was about her thinking about what could happen in this situation or this situation. What if I chose this course of action? And so constantly shifting it up and doing things differently, which has allowed her to be versatile and to think ahead and to think through problems. So if you can change your habit, if you can recognize that the discomfort you're sometimes experiencing is related to growth, and without it, you're not going to grow, then you will find yourself, as uncomfortable as it is, moving forward and improving and having success. So you just got to get comfortable with that change. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this and what things you do to break habit, to push yourself, and to allow growth and change in your environment.